Welcome to Too Late with Dave. I'm Dave Grohl. I'm here with Tom Oldham. Tom or Tommy?
Tom, please.
Tom Oldham. It's Tommy O on your...
It is Tommy O, yeah.
Yeah.
On that, I need to do more research about things like that, because what I didn't realise, and I shouldn't hype him up, is Tommy O Photos. My handle's Tommy O Photo, and Tommy O Photos is like a Las Vegas pornographer. So I've really got to do more research on this stuff. And I looked at his thing the other day, purely for research, and saw that there's loads of people who think they're following me.
Fantastic.
So that's oversight.
Yeah, Alex Lake had the same. There's an Alex Lake photography. And he had a very similar styling after the fact. I think he was a wedding photographer.
Weak.
But every time, because Alex was 2 short days.
Yeah.
He didn't use his name.
Yeah.
So use your real name, photographers.
Yes.
Top tip. Yeah. Thanks for coming along.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
We've already had a 20-minute moan off camera about all things to do with struggling to survive as a hard-working photographer in this day and age. What do you think, what are the biggest challenges now? So you're commissioned to shoot for a leading music magazine, for example. And it's not, budgets for everything have changed, but, what's the biggest factor now? Is it the budget? Is it the time you're given, the requirements you're expected to fulfill?
That's a fantastic question, and I really wish you had told me in advance.
I wish I'd thought of it.
The biggest challenges I face now, I think, are doing something special, actually it being notable and really knuckling into what we can actually achieve with what we have. Because I don't stress too much about how much time we're allocated, because there's always enough time to do the things we want to do, right? Actually, it's working with your team. It's a communication exercise, a lot of this. It's working with the team and the PR, saying this is what we would like to achieve. And getting there early, getting it set up, and nailing all of those looks long before the talent's anywhere near it. And so I think the greatest challenge is finding examples of, or sketching out, or whatever it might be, of this is what we're going to do. The budget's like, the money, I do other work, I do commercial work, and other things for income that is not music photography.
I like that music photography is not considered commercial.
No, not in any way at all. No, it's voluntary work. and we all love it greatly, and it's so close to my heart, and it completely is the engine of my practice. It really, really is. And I've done a lot of it for a long time. But for anyone to call it a potential revenue stream, if you look at your life like that, I think would be tough.
Do you find that your music work, because you've shot so many big names, does that help you in your commercial world? Are people impressed? Do they think you're cool?
Well, they do. They do. And I'm incredibly lucky to be as close to some people that I do shoot. I don't mean in terms of friendship, but to be in the room and look through your lens and see proper rock legends like Liam and John, that's exciting for me, right? And then how that is put into work, and this is the greatest trade secret, really, I think.
I won't tell anyone.
Please don't tell anyone. Don't put this on YouTube. Is that my other clients look at that work and go, oh, right, so we can use the guy who shot Liam and John to shoot our next whatever. And it's like, yes, you can if you pay enough, and that works. That really helps justify what isn't always a good enough budget. This was shot for them, so the budget was fine. But editorially, budgets are challenging, and it really, really fuels our greater picture, our oeuvre, I would say.
The shot here we're looking at of Liam Gallagher and John Squire, how did that come about?
This was a press shot for, it's the final setup we did for Liam and John's album, which I just thought was a beautiful record. And John Squire of the Stone Roses, I mean, that record's come back around again. My kids are listening to that, and they love it. And I love it when they want to hear it, and just, again, to be pointing your lens at them and have Liam leaning in. So with a really wide angle lens, they're leaning right in, and just to be in their space, that feeling of shooting on a wide and bringing them in and bringing the audience in is really integral to the success of this shot, I think. And just to crop them a bit and just be brave with framing, I think. I mean, it's not reinventing the wheel. I don't think that, but just like This is my favourite shot from our session, you know. And I'd shot them previously for MOJO, and then I think the experience was considered a success. And the MOJO shots were beautiful, but they also needed press shots after that and got me back in.
And this is something we talked about that in the good old days, which weren't that long ago.
No.
You'd do a shoot for a magazine, and often the label or the band or management would buy out the session to use for press, which kind of happens a little less because there's less editorial shoots being done.
Yeah.
But did you approach it differently shooting for press or for the magazine?
I definitely noticed with the press shot that everyone was a lot calmer, a lot more preparation had gone into it. On their side, it felt like, and you know, loads of really amazing wardrobe options came out, which I was really chuffed to sort of go, ooh, on the rail. You know, like Liam's brought. He said the funniest thing. I don't want to, you know, do him dirty, but like he said the funniest thing. It's like I was like, Liam, he was wearing this beautiful jacket, and I was like, that's amazing. And he was like, I mean, people say I'm not going to do an impression, but people say it's expensive, but it's a tenner a day for a year, isn't it? And I went, that's $3,500. I don't buy $3,500 jacket. Well, you know what I mean. And I was like, yeah, I do know what you mean. So yeah. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. No. So this has been everywhere. I've seen it on the underground or pictures from this session. What's that like seeing your work on billboards and magazine covers and things?
That's such a nice question because obviously I really love it, and it feels like the target of all that we do is seeing it celebrated in public, you know, and just seeing other people looking at it. And that what this shot was, like, there was a really tight crop of it on the tube, which was exciting to see. And just that it still looked really good on really big print. So you're quite analytical about it, aren't you? You go up to it and really look, you know, and Just and that's all we want, isn't it? Eyes. We want eyes. We want to be in magazines because loads of eyes, you know. And out of home advertising is even more eyes. And whatever format that takes, God forbid the day comes I'm not excited by that because I'm really in trouble then.
This is true. This is something completely different,
right?
But very current.
Very current. Very.
It's election week here in the UK for people who are unaware.
And I really hope the good people of Sheppey Island will be voting for Mad Mike Young here, who is the candidate for the Monster Raving Loony Party, who we photographed in the smallest micro pub in Sheppey for my project, The Hopefuls.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is just great. And how many, you shot quite a few Hopefuls.
We went out and about and photographed 43 candidates because we were rather surprised. We had planned for November kind of time, like a lot of people. And it was sprung on us, and we were about a third of the way in, and we were like, okay, we can either abandon this completely or we can go jump in feet first. And we really, really went for it. And I had an amazing team of people I was working with, but fundamentally it's self-funded. It was non-partisan, so we went all the way left to right, purely from a place of curiosity, that amazing thing that being a portrait photographer can be, which is putting you in the room with people who you agree with or don't, or whoever they are, just so you've got your own experience. Going back to the Liam shot, I want to be in the room. I want to have my own opinion on what he's actually like, you know. And I want to go and meet political candidates to get out of my news bubble. And I use the photography to go and find out what the sort of temperature is with these people. And it was utterly fascinating to do. So I started it just before Christmas, but there was a sudden rush in these last few months. So we're just into July now. It is election week. And there was obviously a cut-off about 2 weeks ago where we had to finish shooting. Then we built a website and we had filmed everyone. It was done entirely democratically. So they chose the locations. We chose the framing. The framing was kept consistent all the way through. So it's entirely sort of democratic in that sense. And we've asked them all the same questions. We videoed all of them as well with exactly the same shot. And then put all of that onto a website so that people could look at the website and make their own opinion on candidacy, on today's issues. We asked questions all relating to very topical issues, and just to show there are more than two parties, I think, and there's a criminal lack of awareness around candidacy, I think, and a huge lack of inspiration in young people and first-time voters about who they should be voting for, and they don't know and don't feel it's relevant to them. And we wanted to kind of shake it up a little bit, which I hope has worked.
Well, we've shown some of the more photographically interesting candidates here. Do you think, it's going slightly off message, but I was listening to an argument the other day about it's all about entertainment and personality rather than any actual issues or beliefs. I mean, in this kind of, these two candidates are kind of like amplify that by just being over the top.
Yeah.
But was everyone agreeable to it or suspicious of your? No.
I think it's fair to say only the Conservative candidates, the two Conservatives that we candidate, were really, really analytical about it. Nobody really has teams of people behind them. So it's a lot looser than we might think it is, I think, candidacy and people that are putting themselves forward. They don't have this structure around them. You know, we would reach out to them and say, can we interview you? And they'd be like, yeah, because any opportunity to put their message out is really, really good. Bimface here, who's an amazing candidate standing in Richmond and Northallerton against Rishi Sunak, is probably the most intelligent person I've photographed in the whole series, maybe. He's fascinating. He's knows exactly what he's doing, and God love him for that. And he's poking fun, just like Mad Mike Young. They're poking fun at the entire system, and we understand why, and I fully respect why, you know. But loads of them, actually, the common thread, I would say, through the series is community. And while we have all the sensationalists, populist politicians, a huge amount of them are just interested in looking after their community, whether it's local community or community at large. And that was really interesting to find out about and find out what their genuine concerns are and taking it upon themselves to act. Loads of them didn't think they're going to get through, but just believed in their right to stand. And somebody who is so thin-skinned and fragile as me, that's very alien, you know. And so I just wanted to find out who are the people who can stand there and say, you got 9 votes, you know, and still consider it worthwhile.
I'd be happy with 9 votes. So how many, because you do quite a lot of projects that are kind of, you just want to do with no one's asked you to do it.
Yeah.
What's next?
Maybe the Faithfuls. I don't know. We'll follow up the Hopefuls with the Faithfuls and go and speak to religious leaders. And I don't know that. Maybe I shouldn't be blurting that out on podcasts. But I feel as I've really enjoyed the process. And religion, I don't come from religion. I don't understand very much about it at all. I think it might be a huge amount more sensitive. And it would be fun to, maybe not fun, interesting to go and engage, I think. So maybe in America as well. What do you think? Foolish?
No, I haven't. I'd like to get involved in that. I know a few people. Now this is an award-winning picture we're looking at.
Yeah.
Of I got confused by the name on the JPEG when I was looking at it. I was like, "Who's Charles?"
Oh yeah.
Because I thought this is Frank Black.
It is.
Or Black Francis.
Black Francis, yeah.
What came first? Frank Black.
I think it was Frank Black, wasn't it?
I thought so.
You should know more than me.
Yeah. Well, I thought that. But I've been out of the game so long. So this award, was this commissioned for MOJO?
This was MOJO, yeah. MOJO interview, yeah.
So ironically, from my experience with magazines, including MOJO, it's an absolute no-no not to have eye contact in a portrait.
Yeah.
And this could not be further from
Yeah.
eye contact. His hands over his face
So why
and
is
shades over his hands.
So why is it so perfect?
It is perfect. Because when I looked at it, I knew who it was.
Yeah.
Then I got confused with the names. But I think that's a great portrait where you know who it is, you can't even see him.
Thanks, man.
And not the easiest chap, from what I understand, to in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Great on stage, great musician, great everything.
And like so many musicians, I guess when young musicians starting out probably think being on stage and maybe rehearsing is the job, and actually it's a really small element of the job. And I was really, really happy with this in that it was expressive. And so we're in the room, the interview takes place, we've got 1 hour. Obviously, he's not going to finish at 45 minutes. When did that ever happen, So it rolls on a bit, and he's got to get a flight. We've got probably 6 minutes to get this thing, but we're ready, And James Hole is in lighting with me, and I know I can completely rely on him. He's going to hold the light while he's looking at the monitor. We've got a really tight space. It's just not dissimilar to this. And he sits in and he looks like he doesn't want to do it, And I said, could you please express your exasperation at just having to talk about yourself all day? And he just does this. And everything after this frame, is a waste of time because you've long got the shot, But of course, we labour it and have to do our other setups and go through our run around in this 6 minutes that we have. But hardly shot anything for this, and like I said, I don't know what happened to the rest of the pictures because they're no good, and this was the one, and I absolutely love it, and entered it into the Sony World Photography Awards in the open category. So I'd previously had some success in the professional category with a portrait series, but the open category is one shot, and I won the portrait category of that, and it's like 300,000 pictures go in or something, And I won the portrait category of the open series, of the open bit, and then that went forward and won the whole thing. And I was at the time convinced I'd never taken a single photo that would ever be good enough to cut through, because they have some very beautiful, crafted, dramatic images in that. But this year in 2020, it cut through, and 2020, the timing of it was especially useful for me, finding out that, yes, I am still a photographer during lockdown and COVID and all that. Do you remember that? And, I won a camera and $5,000. And that was like, oh, man, yes. The timing of that could not have been more useful, So I really love this picture accordingly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Also, just alone, aside from who it is, it's a great picture.
Well, thanks, man. I think it's important to say it's not technique-y. There's nothing about it. It's just an honest emotion that probably everyone can. It's funny, emotional. It's a great portrait of him and his overall vibe. And it could have been any time since the 1930s or something. I don't know. It could be 100 years old, that picture. So all of those elements I think feed into it. It's very straight.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I'm less concerned with technique, the technical side of things, not technique. And I always find the most important thing, exactly what you did, is you relax him into the situation, because he's done this a million times. Yeah. And we for Q, we had a shoot with them, and we flew someone out to Italy. I think it was Rome, boiling hot day. We had like 10 minutes. Oh, man. Cash for questions feature. So it was always some kind of slightly humorous in-joke thing, and everything that was suggested, they said no. Oh, man. Stress. And, so I'm getting a phone call from Italy. They won't do this, they won't do that. And they just come in, they were jet lagged. They had 10 minutes to do something. I think they set fire to questions or ate them or something, which was our sort of backup. If in doubt, make them eat paper. But so that kind of does the job, just getting them. Yeah.
And that's the job. That's the photographer's job, isn't it? You've got to bridge the gap, take it to them, and just see if you can just tickle out some feelings somehow, like reach into them and just go like, give me something, throw me a bone,
I used to, like when up and coming photographers would ask, what's more, I've got this camera, I've got this degree, I did this, I did that. I'd say particularly with music photography, the most important thing is just don't be a dick. And, because everyone's trying to impress the rock star, always, to be noticed. And the best way, like your experience with Liam, you get noticed by being quick and doing a good job. It's sort of taken for granted you can take a picture, but if you could do it well and do it quick and not be a dick, you get the call back.
It's very, very prescient that you should say that while this picture of Dave Grohl is staring us down. because I've got a Dave Grohl story in relation to this, right? I'll try and keep the short version of it. But nicest man in rock, right? Everyone knows.
So to me, this looks like he's, it's quite a close-up, slightly gnarly. Is he telling you off?
Well, this, dig in, listeners, dig in. I had to do this was for the Fly magazine, which was a giveaway shoot a giveaway magazine a long time ago before, or that was the only option we had with magazines. And they did a big fold-out thing with MTV2, and Foo Fighters were on the cover of it, but there was lots of other artists in this long pull-out. And he came in, I was like, wow, this is the big moment, finally, the legend, you know. And they're hungover, they're tired, they're not in the mood, they don't know why they're there, right? Interestingly, Taylor wasn't there, right? So he was coming the next day. So they sit down, they're not into it, and I'm throwing everything I've got at them, right? Nothing's landing at all. I'm desperate. I just want this to be notable in some way. 3 minutes, 16 seconds later, they sort of stand up and go, right, thanks very much. And I was like, man, if that's the nicest guy in rock, then we've had it. We've really had it, because there's like, and I was crushed, right? The next day, I have to photograph Taylor to comp into this page, right? Because he was coming in late. And we go to the Charlotte Street Hotel, and down in this room, and they all come in, right? And I was a bit like pissed off, actually. And Taylor comes in, but they all come in, and they were a lot more buoyant than they were the day before. And we start shooting, and it's me and the same assistant, and Dave Grohl goes, yesterday, man, this fucking photographer dude goes, ooh, Dave, the camera loves you. I was like, what the fuck? And my assistant looks at me, and I've got no option at all. And I went, and I'm sweating. It's hot in here, isn't it? It's hot in here. And I went, Dave, yeah, I shot you yesterday. That was me who said that. And he went, oh, fuck. Sorry, man. Fuck. And everyone sort of laughed, right? I was just like, oh, how could this get any worse? So, and after that, he's full of energy, gives it loads. It's really amazing. He turns it on, right? He's not having it that I think he's that guy. And we both, like, everyone high fives at the end, you know. We've got this lovely, lovely shoot. Absolutely brilliant. That weekend, they were performing at V Festival, and I used to be the official V Festival photographer, right? So I'm in the pits all day, and they did this surprise sort of lunchtime gig thing. And I'm standing around with like 40 of the photographers in the pit about to go in, you know the thing. And Dave Grohl spots me from the stage, climbs down, comes up to me, and goes, hey man, what the fuck are you doing here? And we hug, and I was like, come to see you, Dave. And we have a little chat, and all of my they even start shooting him, you know. And all of my photographic peers look at me and go, do you know Dave Grohl? And I was like, yeah, he's all right. No. And he only did that. The rest of the band are waving at me from the stage before they went on. And he only did that to make me look good in front of everyone else. He didn't have to do that. And he knew there was this feeling, you know. And I was like, man, you've so doubled down on the nicest man in rock. You pulled that round. And just like, kids, don't ever say the camera loves you. Even in jest. I said it in jest, all right?
British humour.
Right?
Doesn't travel.
Doesn't travel. No, it stopped at Dover, that one.
But it's very nice when someone like that, or anyone, does something that they don't have to.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I think, you know, I used to get very irate with PRs and handlers managing the time instead of managing the process and getting the result. But my experience was always, I think, I won't name names, but 99% of the time, when you got to the subject, the person being photographed, they were absolutely
of course.
Wonderful.
Because the work's been done.
They just want to look good. And we talked earlier about the whole trust thing, and it does come into it that they have to trust that you're going to make them look good. And I think this is another thing that is kind of a very newish thing, is that in the good old days, the photographer was trusted to take a good picture. But now I think partly because of iPhones and everyone taking pictures at all angles all day, there's so many bad pictures or unflattering pictures that everyone's become wary of being photographed.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems now. So you're given 2 minutes because it's quick, because it's digital, and you can fix it after if it looks bad.
That's a challenge. I think trust is earned, and it's through your portfolio and being consistently good. You know, we had Chris Floyd on here, who I admire greatly as a portrait photographer, who's just been good for a really long time. And that's so important that, like, you know, your what's the expression about your last job is your whatever it is, you know, is utterly vital, that the last thing you did that people see was good and people respect it, because that's what we're trading off constantly. And, you know, I did shoots with, I can remember one week where I did a shoot with Graham Coxon, right? I did it for the Fly magazine, which was a giveaway, possibly a little student-y in feel, on the Monday, and shot him for MOJO on the Thursday, right? The Fly shoot, say, the PR's like, well, what are we doing? What's the concept? Where are we doing it? What's it? No, he's not doing that, Tom. He's not doing it. And I ended up for the Fly one, I'm not kidding you, I put a camera on a tripod, tethered it to a laptop, gave him set up all the lights, put a background up, because he wouldn't let me, the PR wouldn't let me do an illustration on the backdrop. I thought, decorate your own backdrop. No, he's not doing that, Tom, you know. So I set up, I was like, lost my shit. I didn't lose my shit. I'd like quietly, impatiently lost my shit, and set up the camera on a tripod, tethered it to a laptop, set up all the lighting, gave him a cable release and went, do it your fucking self. And he was like, really? I was like, do what you want. And I got this amazing set of Graham Coxon pictures you would never got otherwise, because he just was doing all these poses and just having fun with it, right? And then I gave him a Sharpie at the end and went, can you just do the thing? And the PR went, heh! And he was like, yeah, of course, man, yeah. And he dedicated this really nice thing, and it would look really, really good. And then I shot him again on the Thursday, and the PR's like, right, where do you want me? You know, and the contrast between the trust for MOJO and the distrust of a lesser magazine maybe was really, really notable. And I think it just played into needing archive, a depth of archive and quality, and just being able, I think it's easier for people to see immediately who and what you are now, but you need, you know, big names are comforted by other big names, and it's very hard to break through, I think. That was a long answer.
That was a good answer, though.
Thanks, man.
Jack White, multiple Jack Whites.
Yeah.
Was this the Nashville shoot?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. For MOJO again. And I could fill up your hard drive with how amazing it was to be with him in his space, which is so inspiring in Nashville, this world that he's built over there. And there's a million stories really just over an experience that only was over a few hours, you know, but it was worth going to Nashville for. And me and James again just like set this up, and we're just going to do some full-length things. Are you playing? And I didn't direct him to like create any of these shapes at all. He just understands, you know, and the best guys do. And particularly, I think shooting Americans, it's so common that they know that PR is a big part of the job. You know, they're so media friendly and well attuned to what is needed. And he you know, we had loads of different setups, and he looks great. He's got his whole vibe. He understands what's required and just dials into it really efficiently. His whole thing is about efficiency, you know.
And this seems like one of those classic, like ideal scenarios where the subject is completely involved in the whole process, and that's how you get the best pictures.
God, we pray for that, don't we?
Oh, I don't like having my picture taken. One of those.
Our good friend Niall, who used to be at The Fly and at Q Magazine, I remember him saying English bands equate looking cool with looking bored, and trying to tickle out again expressions out of people that don't want to offer them, whereas Americans just don't seem to suffer that. You know, they want to show, they want to look different and engaged and part of the process, and that's why Dave Grohl pictures a full page in magazines, and other maybe bands will be postage stamp size, you know, because they put something into it.
Right. What's up next?
Oh. So Janelle Monáe here. This was a live shot, actually. I did this really lovely project called On Off, which was in association with War Child, for a book and print sales and all this stuff as a fundraiser for them. God love War Child, they're amazing people. And this is Janelle Monáe's before shot. So this was shot backstage at Ali Pali, and immediately fell in love with an incredible artist. I genuinely, this might put me available to criticism, but I honestly, genuinely believe there is James Brown, there's Jimi Hendrix, there is Aretha Franklin, there's Prince, there's Janelle Monáe. You know, she really is of a very rich lineage, I think, of astonishingly gifted American artists. And every single action of hers, her wardrobe, her dance, her music is so dialed in. And it comes from an amazing place. And we shot this portrait, obviously, in seconds before she went on stage. And the whole project was about on-off, about documenting the sort of energy exchange that occurs during live performance. It's on my website. And that she could focus in on this project in that moment before a gig and give us this. And then the tension and relief, which was the after shot. So they would walk back onto set, just off stage, as they came off stage, and you'd put them side by side to compare, you know, and amazing and beautiful, incredible. And lots of them were really fascinating to do about how much occurs during the show. And that sort of, literally the tension and release of performance, and the simplicity of this shot and the form, and the whole series was in black and white, and just you can't communicate a message clearer than this, I don't think.
No, it's fantastic. It looks like a fashion shoot.
It does, doesn't it? And it was crafted in seconds, but actually it was crafted in years of professionalism, wardrobe, hair, you know, her whole wanting to put her image across in the right way. And to photographers, that's gold, right? You know, that people that know who and what they are and can give it to you willingly, you know. And she could have rightfully been very locked into her personal moment before going on stage. But here she is offering up portraits, you know. And that, like I said, that's golden for us.
No, it's fantastic. And I've found with the bigger the artist who've been around the block and who are on board with being photographed, you can have 1 minute and almost every frame is usable.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
And then you get the grumpy indie bands looking bored.
Yeah.
You can't use anything.
No, that's absolutely right. Spot on. You've got
2 hours.
You've got how many years of experience of that, have you? You know, like insane. And you're totally right. If it's my 1 minute and it's just me and you, you know, that minute is an hour. That's fine. You know, because we've already dialed in the setting. We know what we want it to look like. Just give me the thing, you know.
Richard Ashcroft here, very intense, kind of defiant portrait. But I think I booked you for this, for Q, and I suggested that he might be difficult based on a recent shoot we'd done where he'd started off difficult. This was a thing where a shoot can turn around. He turned up very confrontational, very pointy finger. You can't do this, you can't do that. And then I kind of laughed a little bit, and he said we could take pictures on an iPhone, they're great. What are we fucking around with cameras for? And I said you could record your album on an iPhone, but you wouldn't because it's shit. Yeah. And then he fussed about a bit, came back, said sorry about that, just, you know.
I had a musician say to me once, well, good photographers don't need loads of lighting. And I was like, okay, you know, you realise the equivalent of that is good musicians don't need amplification. You know, like, should we not? And with this one was a proper red rag to a bull. It's good. I'm really glad you put this up, because he came in and went, I'm not doing fucking loads of shots for his fucking portfolio, all right? And I was just like, that's such a red flag to a bull, that is, isn't it? Because like, okay, well, let's see about that. Because, you know, we no offence to your commission, Dave, but we like to get the minor inconvenience out of the way, don't we? And then get the shots that we actually want, you know. And this was a Cash for Questions where he did set fire to the questions, right? Which
if in doubt, yeah.
which he willingly did. But I had come long prepared for this one shot that I really wanted, and this is the shot that I wanted. He's got amazing cheekbones, an incredible face, and I really wanted to punch in on that. And oh man, like he's an icon for people like me that have been around for 400 years, and he just I blame him for the whole Northern aesthetic, right? Like their wardrobe, their spirit, you know, the Northern music aesthetic. And he's an amazing, really admired character who, like I said, incredible looking. And I really wanted that shot, and it was exactly that. I could have sketched out, you know, and it was a classic. Just one more before you go. You know, can we just be really quick? Here we go. And you know, you've drilled that in with your lighting guy that we want this sort of side lit thing, and that brilliant thing starts to happen with our pictures where it's not just like, I mean, you get way into it and you go from, oh, that's a good one, you know, to designing it, don't you? And crafting it and knowing that this is what I want to come out of here with. And this is a premium example of that with me, that this was exactly what I wanted to achieve. And here it is.
And I recall, actually, he was all right.
He was all right,
you know, he was,
in the end.
Yeah.
He's nervous.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing with people being photographed. You know, the most common thing I ever hear, if I'm trying to take someone's picture, they say, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I'll just say, because you're ugly. You know? And then they relax, because no one wants to say, I'm worried about my nose or my ear or the thing that they don't like about themselves, which is usually the thing others are drawn to, I find.
Yeah.
And I think, he's just like one of them. He's just wanted to look good.
And we don't make loads and loads of promises and retouch because we want to stick it as close to the truth as possible. But so often they go, I've got a spot. And we'll get rid of that. You know, oh man, I look at my jacket. It's like, we'll iron it. You know, it's like, actually, what don't you like about that? Because everybody here thinks that's amazing. So what don't you like? You know, and instead of like, whereas initially in that editing process, they're going, that's shit, that's shit, that's shit. It's like, why is it shit? We don't think it's shit, and that's why we're showing it to you. You know, we don't think it's shit. Let's drill into it. What is shit? We'll look at, you know, it's like, we'll change it. If we change that, would you like it? You know, and you don't have to accept it, do you? If there's a discussion to be had, it's worth pushing, you know. I mean, this guy, sorry, Dave, did you want to?
No, I was just going to say on that point, we did a book, Real Art Press book with Patty Boyd.
Wow, yeah.
Last year or the year before. So amazing pictures, amazing model, all these fantastic photos, Norman Parkinson, Bailey, Terence Long, all, you name it.
Never heard of him.
And there was this set of pictures from 1970, I think. They were great, like slightly boho gypsy vibe, hair and messy bun. I was going, these are great. Aussie Clark dress. She's like, no, I don't like them, horrendous. And I was like, they're amazing. And I said, every time I showed an edit, she was like, take them out. And in the end, I thought I couldn't because I'm not going to include them if she really doesn't know. But I said, what is it though? It's just awful. I went, yeah, but what is awful? When it came down to it, her tights were slightly crumpled at the ankle. I was like, for fuck's sake. I didn't even notice, you know.
Yeah.
And so we cleaned it up a little.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's amazing what people look at when they're looking at pictures of themselves.
Yeah.
Now here we have His Lordship, Rick Rubin.
Rick Rubin was another MOJO interview, and this was an interesting one because we were waiting outside the house in West London where we were going to shoot it. This was in promotion of his book, which is an amazing read for creatives out there. It's really about the headspace in which he operates, and it's very inspiring, I think. And we got a message on the way to, as they're on the way, saying, is it okay if we don't do it in the house? Could we just go for a little wander around the block? And I'm looking at this mountain of equipment that we've brought with us and, you know, team. And I was like, this is for the MOJO interview. You know, it's like, it's a pretty proper feature, you know, and MOJO readers tend to buy products and they're recommended.
They expect
a
certain
premium quality, you know. And for the first time that I could remember, I actually just had to go like, no, sorry, no, this is proper. you know, and really push back. And they were like, okay. So there was a certain level of sort of grumpiness that we met when on arrival, and that's fine. That just means I've got to go into charm mode and, you know, sell what we're doing a little harder. And we set up in this room, and he comes in, and he was just about to. So Rick Rubin, just as a little bit of backstory, has produced Chili Peppers, you know, iconic hip hop, Beastie Boys, but then Adele and Johnny Cash, and the biggest stuff in the world. And I think he's the most successful music producer alive today. And he was doing Desert Island Discs the next day. And I said, when he sort of came up, I went, I mean, you know, Lauren Laverne's a proper heavyweight, right? She really knows her business, and like don't get caught, you know, because. And I said, have you like really thought about what you're going to play, you know? And he's like, yeah, I've been thinking about it for like months since I found out I was doing this. I've been really, and it's worth a listen. It's really good, but as so often is the case with these things, the camera it's not up yet. You know, we're like this for ages, just like. You know, and that should be the last thing, because you actually want to form the most wafer-thin bond you can rummage out from the situation, isn't it? You know, just anything to hang your hat on that will go like, that's us, we've got that thing. And we got it there, and as we always do, you know, there's a feature shot, try and start wide, and then this, and this is actually on this lens here, 35mm lens. So by the end of this shot, we're in really close. I'm that far away from him, you know, but we don't start there. You know, we gather our confidence to get that within that sort of breathing space. And that's why this works, because it feels like we're connecting, I suppose, and the viewer's connecting. And I, you know, sent this one forward to the magazine, like, what shoot went really well, guys, you know. And I absolutely love this picture, the simplicity of it, the fullness of his beard and his smile. He looks like he's having a good time, and they ran this on the page, you know. And I can just open in the magazine. I'm tingling now, actually, when I think about it. Like opening the magazine and seeing that full page is as close to perfection as what we do, and it's so joyful still to just have that moment and go, oh, we won.
Got it.
Yeah,
It's great.
Ah.
You see this again. I love this, and I quite like. Maybe it was just the prick in me going against what I was told to do, but you know, every portrait or editorial commission is eye contact, straight at camera, nothing out of the ordinary, and sometimes that happens by accident. But here, obviously, most people will recognise Ronaldo, but you're not showing most of the face. But like, so for something like that, you know, how did you approach that? What was the concept behind that?
Well, it's an interesting one, this, because he's the most followed person on Instagram, and by quite a long way, CR7. And we were like, in combination, this was an apparel launch with Adidas, Manchester United, and Peter Saville, who had done this. You can't quite see it, but down the sleeve is actually the heartbeat of the team. They had put heart monitors on them, and they'd done a sort of sequence of the Man United players' heartbeat in respect to the Joy Division album that Peter Saville designed. And so there's a lot of heritage in there, and an incredible privilege to be asked to sort of photograph it. For me, it was a big deal, and I knew the aesthetic of that period. I knew the aesthetic of Peter Saville. So we were like, how little light can we put on one of the most famous people in the world and it still be notable and recognizable as him? And it turns out hardly any light at all. And everyone's still, yes, Cristiano Ronaldo. And
you see the United badge and the...
Yeah, but technically it was a feat, I can assure you. And what I learned from this, and not just from this experience, but generally, to speak a little more generally, I'd say, is sometimes you're in the room, not just for this shot, just for everything you've ever done, because it's that you are trusted that you can cope with not just the shot, but everything that comes with getting the shot. And there's multiple teams involved of ensuring it's as hard as possible for you to get that moment. Not necessarily with this one. I wouldn't say this one.
Do you like? Someone said to me once that there's sort of 3 levels of subject. There's music, there's sports, and there's Hollywood.
Yeah.
And they just get more and more complex. Not the taking the picture, but the stuff around it and the restrictions and I think often restrictions. My experience was the restrictions are put in place. It's like road planners. If a road planner ever drove down a busy road, they'd completely do it differently. And if the people who put restrictions on photo shoots ever took a picture or actually were on set, they'd completely revise what they do. Because the aim is to get a great picture that everyone's happy with. Yeah. And all these things are put in place to stop that happening, which just baffles me.
It feels like that. We would do it so differently, wouldn't we? It's beautiful to be able to get shots like these, but and the most joyful thing with this actually was the end result, that I FaceTimed my dad. So my surname is Oldham. We are many generations of Manchester United fans, right?
Sorry about that.
I know, it's tough. We had our moment, as Liam pointed out. You had your moment in the 90s. Now it's our turn. I was like, yes, I can't disagree. And to be able to FaceTime him, and there was an enormous piece of print. Homeground, the agency, really sorted it out. And it was amazing to be able to FaceTime him and go, look, Dad, there's my picture on Old Trafford, you know. And that, again, justifies the experience of going through it. Like, there it is. Wow. You know. And that is, where the joy lives, because it's not always in the experience of doing it. Though I must say, Ronaldo did me the most amazing solid on set, where I would advise choosing to do this very carefully. But if you're sure you've got a good one on screen, to actually take the risk and bring them over and say, what do you think about this? And there's a lot of people staring at me with their arms folded, you know, in this moment. And I've only got 14 minutes or whatever it is. And he comes over and looks at the camera and goes, this photographer's amazing. And then the whole room like went, you know, and it's like, right, okay, can we do this? You know, and the light on this was through a focus spot, which, and we weren't shooting in darkness, so it was really hard to see where the light was going. And shout out to my amazing lighting people who made that dream a reality. James, again, third name check. He had to use the modelling light to hit just that section of the face that you can see there, and couldn't see the modelling light because we didn't have a studio. We're shooting on a balcony, you know. Yeah, so it was really, you could only see on the shot you had just done whether it hit or not, not in advance. So shout out to his technical expertise, definitely. And they did look beautiful, and they are amazing, and I love them, and we really earned it.
Well done.
Thank you.
Proper team.
Yeah. Oh, are they called? Are they local
team?
Yeah.
My local team.
Yeah. Thierry Henry, is he still the highest scorer at Arsenal? I think he is, isn't he? Anyone scored?
I lost count after Malcolm McDonald.
That's a very old reference that very few people will get. That's niche as fuck, that is. Anyhow, okay, Thierry Henry, lovely, handsome-looking talent, mega talent, unbelievably doesn't like being photographed, right? Or either that or doesn't like being photographed by me.
I mean, he's got the perfect face for it.
Right, he's amazing. And this is one for...
Had he had a bad experience, maybe?
Not with me, but maybe he had. And with this one, this was for the cover of Shortlist, where I had a very sort of tight brief as to what they wanted from it. It was eyes open, eyes closed, right? They were doing this thing. And he came in and was really just like, what's this for? And this is very rare of me, right? He goes, what's this for? And I was like, it's for the Shortlist company. He's like, pff. And I was like, why don't you want to do it? I just went from 0 to 100. And I was like, and I never do this, right? I went, don't you want to do it? And he was like, well, and I was like, I'll tell you what, I need one open, one eye's open, one closed, camera locked off, everything in the same position. And I'll tell you what, give me 10 different expressions. You can sign them off afterwards and you can go. And he's like, what? And I was like, if you don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. So let's just like get through it. And I said, you can sign off the ones that we like after. And he's like, really? And his agent's like, really? I was like, yeah, because honestly, mate, you know. And so consequently, he does all this stuff, you know, that I'd never have got him to do otherwise. And I was like, okay, thanks, man, we're done. And he's like, what? I was like, just choose which ones you're happy to release. And he was like, chose 6 out of 10. I was like, on your way, 3 minutes, right? Because I was just not taking it today, you know. It's like, we're all out here busting a gut to try and make you look good. And if you can't see that, then, and as it was, I got far better results from it anyway. And a bit like the Graham Coxon thing with the shutter release and letting him drive it, it's totally okay to have these mechanisms in your back pocket that were like, okay, do you know what? Let's you do it your way, mate. You know, and you must have had a million things like that where it's just like, right, we need to tidy this up really quickly, actually. And the same with, you know, Black Francis, just like, okay, show us how exasperated you feel right now. It's like, I can do that. And it's like, great. You know. Yes. So this is Usain Bolt. That's a physique we can all aspire to.
There's a physique, yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like he's giving you the evil eye.
Yeah, that was for the cover of Sport magazine. I seem to work for all these magazines that have shut down.
Do you have a preference for sports or music?
Oh,
I'm going to ask some stupid questions.
no, that's good. Thank you.
What's your favourite picture? Who would win in an arm wrestle? No.
That's my favourite colour. Sports or music? I can't pick between my two children. Thank you. I like.
But if you had to,
I think I would.
Or is it just people?
It's only people and experiences. You know, I was in Jamaica in April photographing Usain Bolt for like the 10th time. And I come from a really small village called Moor Critchell, which is near Witchhampton, which is near Wimborne, which is near Bournemouth, right? And in Dorset. And there is a post box and a letterbox in Moor Critchell, right? And not many people. And the fact that I walk into a studio in Jamaica and Usain Bolt's there and he sees me and jumps up and gives me a hug is like an astonishing thing for me, right? And I got into this very late. I only went freelance when I was 29, and I will continue to marvel at things like that for a very long time, you know, for as long as I can remember them. And so it's about people. It's not about category. And I'm really, really pleased I've been able to transfer like a music aesthetic into sport, and that stood me well. But actually, it's just people. It could be politicians. The grand privilege is because we own cameras, we can get into those people's spaces, you know, and form our own opinions about what they're like, you know. So sports, music, politics, art, whatever it might be, you know, it's about relationships and communication.
Very important. So your love of photography and working with people, and you've obviously got your inspirations, photographers that you admire and like. And then you contacted me a few years ago. You were working on this project. If you could explain a little bit about that.
Well, creativecorners.uk is the website. I do quite a lot of schools work and go to schools, state schools around the UK and talk about photography, and was very, very shocked when my friend Chris Francis down in Bournemouth in the school explained about how crushingly low the budgets are for art. When a time when mental health is crashing through the floor, investing in art just seems like such an easy win to help people express themselves, focus. It's off screen, it can be off screen, and it really broke my heart. And I went home and was really dissatisfied with the whole thing. So I went to my bookshelves and pulled out all this stuff that's just jewellery for my shelves, really. That like, I don't look at them, they're just books that I'm I've collected over the years. And I was like, this is all bullshit, and just pulled them all out, put them in tubs. I thought, before I give them to the school, I will see if anybody else has books that they want to share. And I reached out to good people connected to books, and the floodgates opened, and a huge amount of people leapt on board and started sending me books. So I'd go to train stations and meet them, and they would bring them to my house. They'd post boxes. I'd come and see you. You were incredible, man. Like, you didn't even question for a second whether it was the right thing or not. And genuinely, I remain so grateful for that. I'm looking you in the eye because I'm serious about this. And we started giving books to schools. I started giving books to schools via all the generous people that were passing them through me. I'm just a conduit, really. And giving schools libraries. So this is a really lovely moment where they go out for their break, go back for lunch, and what we do is put out all the books on the table, and then the kids come back in, the photography students come back in, and they just find their place around the table, or they sit underneath it. I love
this girl here.
Yeah, she's amazing. And they find a little space around the table and just start looking at books. And you cannot underestimate how few people have photography books in their lives. They're expensive things. Schools can't afford them. A 40 quid book? Are you kidding me? Some schools have £1.85 per student per year for art supplies. Heartbreaking. And I was just like, there are loads of books out there. So incredible people like BJP magazine, the Photographers Gallery, like publishers. Oh man, there's so many people I need to thank.
And it's still ongoing?
Oh yeah, very much. So anybody who has books that they don't know what to do with, I do know what to do with them. And please contact me, because I'll distribute them to the schools I have waiting, and to go and do a talk and a demo and a lighting and just spend the day. And it's criminal how under-resourced they are, and God, I hope that changes. So I've been really, really blessed, and that for once I just asked the social network for something back. Instead of just like chucking in all the time, it's like, I need you, and it came really good. And we've done about like 16 or 17 schools, given them libraries so far all over the UK, and that is worth a great deal more than most of the stuff that I've spoken about and shown you.
Did you go to art school yourself?
I did a 2-year BTEC National Diploma in Plymouth Art College, but the real education I got was I then got a job as a technician at the Art College in Plymouth, and that's where I slowly set about in the dark rooms with the equipment, learning the trade, and then started like shooting music and raves and stuff and sending those pictures to magazine, and that's where the sort of proliferation started.
So you'd always wanted to be a photographer?
No. My parents, God love them, gave me a camera for my 21st birthday. The girlfriend I had at the time suggested that I wanted a watch, but she said, why don't you get a camera? I was like, okay, yeah, that's a nice idea. And I was very, very lucky to be given a very entry-level film camera, and it coincided, the best element of this was that it coincided with rave music happening. That was in 1991, and there was this creative explosion that was happening at the time, and I had a really boring job in a clothes shop. I was like a deputy manager in Next at the time, and was bored as hell. And then we'd go and have very mind-expanding weekends, and then on Monday just be like, what am I doing here? And that coincided with getting this camera, and the creative possibilities of it just felt wild in comparison to what I was doing. And I jacked it in and went to art college, and thank God I did.
And did you, could you conceive of earning a living as a photographer? Or did you just want to do something creative and see what happened?
It felt like my ticket suddenly. I realised this was the ticket out of boredom, and that felt far more important than anything else, actually. I don't think anybody really gets into photography because they think they're going to earn a living from it, do they?
Well, the people we know, no. Yeah. But I think there's a slight, like with a lot of colleges and universities, the photography course is always oversubscribed. And I think there's this feeling that they're going to graduate and then start shooting for Vogue.
Yeah.
Or, because I would get calls at I've just finished thing, I'd love to shoot a cover. And I'd have 20 long-serving photographers that would punch me in the face if I gave a student a gig like that, or any job.
Yeah.
You know, because really the reality of, you know, working established photographers, it's quite a small group, and then all the magazines are sort of intertwined, and in music certainly, and labels, you've got one PR who's handling 20 big names, so they're going to use the go-to photographers.
A friend of mine, Fiona Hayes, who has spent like a huge amount of time working with Vogue, explained like how you shoot a cover or a feature in Vogue, and how the commissioning process, that she boiled it down to basically being like sort of 2 commissions of new photographers a year. And you think, but the magazine's full of pictures. It's like, well, some of them are bought in, you know. She's got a roster of photographers that, you know, are all standing there waiting for their commission that she has to honour very regularly, you know. And then, you know, certain things aren't right for certain people, but they'll have portrait guys and they'll have, you know, wild fashion guys, and whatever the tone is that they want to hit. So actually it distills into very few opportunities that you can legitimately take a punt on. And, you know, for all the people that contact me, they're like, can I come and assist you on a famous, because I want to learn about how you do it. And it's like, yeah, that's so the opposite of what I'm going to go for. You know,
And you can't teach it.
Yeah, that's right. You've got, it's having new people on set. So what is the job I'm going to do where I can afford to have somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing? I can carry my own bags. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, what are you going to bring? What can you offer us? Like, it's not just about being stood there and soaking it up. It's actually like, I want you to know about the nuance and subtlety of feathering off a light and what difference that will do. And we can show you all that stuff, but your tone has got to be right, and that's hard to learn. And it is that catch-22. I get that.
What's the most surprising commission you've had?
Why
Is there one where you thought, why are they calling me for that?
didn't you message me and ask me that in
I just
advance?
thought about it. This is all unrehearsed.
Really surprising commission. I can remember dear Tim Stedman, this guy who was head of marketing, I think, at Puma, and they were getting these opportunities, and they would always like have footballers with a new boot, just like photograph them around the back, and they'd just go like that and be like great. And it's like, this is for a multi-million-pound boot launch, you know. And he was wise enough to say, I think it would be better if we had a slightly more rock and roll aesthetic for this stuff. And it's like, so you're getting access to these players, they're paid to do photo shoots, and you're coming away with this. And it's like, okay. And he was like, do you think we could apply your music aesthetic to like some of these player opportunities we get? And I was like, yeah, why? Yes, definitely. Yes, you can do that. And that's what kind of really heavily started getting me into sports photography, was that we would take Yaya Toure or Cesc Fabregas or Olivier Giroud, and it's right, can you sit here and we're going to light you, and we're actually going to keep you in context, but it's just going to have a bit more sort of rock and roll about it, you know. And that went really, really well for a long time. So it's credit to him for that. And that was surprising, because I hadn't seen myself moving into that sort of space actually at the time.
Photographing shoes.
Photographing shoes. I never really thought about it like that.
And on that note,
cheers, dude. Just summed up my career with that.
I know you have to go, because have you got something exciting on this afternoon?
I'm not telling you.
Huh?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
We'll get you back and follow up.
Great.
Tom, thanks very much.
Thank you, mate.
And see you soon.
I hope so. Thanks
you very
everyone.
much.